Hey guys, I'm Nexorei. Since Titania is my most played frame and she will get a rework soon, I decided to ask some people on the current state of Titania. Maybe introduce yourself a bit.
Yeah, my name is Cephalon Gizo. I'm a peasant with super fast internet speed. I am a content creator for Warframe since 4-ish years now. Recently partnered, and I've been streaming since September 2018 or so. And yeah, Warframe is probably my main game, and I have no life, so I know a few things, I guess.
I'm Cephalon Caro. I started playing Warframe when it launched on Steam for the first time.
Hello everyone, my name is Volt the Hero.
What is your current mastery rank?
27!
I'm Mastery rank 19. Why such a low Mastery rank? I fool around way too much.
I'm a Mastery rank 20 player.
What is roughly your playtime in hours?
About 5,000.
Over 1,900 hours under my belt.
I have just over 1,000 hours of playtime.
Why did you stop playing Warframe?
Well, I was incredibly bored and incredibly broke. I didn't have any money, and being old school, I was looking for a video store where I could rent a movie or games or something. And the closest one was way too far, and I didn't want to pay the gas money, so I started looking for free-to-play games. I watched a bunch of top 10 free-to-play game videos on YouTube, and eventually I started to see Warframe all the time, so I gave it a try, just to, have some fun for an hour or two, because it's free, it can't be good. And yeah, now 5,000 hours later, I'm still here.
I started playing Warframe because my guitar teacher had recommended it to me, and at that time I didn't know of any other games on PC they could play besides Minecraft, so I was really surprised to see a 3D game like Warframe where you played as a space ninja. And keep in mind, I really love ninjas. I find them to be extremely cool and badass, and overall the game was free, so I got really excited to see something like this, and that's how I discovered and started playing Warframe.
What is your most played Warframe?
Mag.
My most played Warframe is Siren.
My most played Warframe is Volt.
And your most hated Warframe?
Probably Excalibur.
My most hated Warframe is Zephyr, because fuck that Flappy Bird in particular.
I don't have a most hated frame. I actually like every single Warframe in the game because I understand each is meant for different situations. However, I guess you could say my most least played frame is Vauban. I think once D actually considers giving him a rework, I'll start playing him some more. Not saying that he's completely trash or that he's terrible, but I just don't feel like he matches up with today's standards in Warframe when it comes to combat.
What is your Titania playtime in percentage?
That is, I have no idea. I would suspect well under 3%.
My playtime on Titania is 0.5%, so not too much.
According to my Warframe stats, I've used Titania 0.4% of the time out of all my frames, and frankly I think that's BS because I've definitely used Titania quite a lot, but according to my stats, that's basically.
Do you have a fashion Titania?
I mean, all of my frames are fashioned. I spend a lot of time fashioning all of my frames. Also Titania, of course, so I think yes.
Do I have a fashion Titania? Yes, I have fashion everything.
For my Titania fashion, I went with an orange, black, and reddish look because that's the only thing I could really find that would really fit in with Titania's default skin, but that's just based on my fashion choice.
What is your general rating in terms of her kit?
7, I think.
My general rating in terms of Titania's kit, from 1 to 10, I'd say 2.
In general ratings in terms of her kit, on a scale between 1 to 10 with 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest, I'd say that she's a 6 because her only extremely effective ability is her 4th because your hitbox is extremely small, making it harder for enemies to hit you, and if you mod her properly you can do an incredible amount of damage. Her first 3 abilities are quite meh in my personal opinion because they either hardly deal any damage to the higher level enemies and they pretty much ragdoll enemies in the air making them harder to kill, so I personally don't like to use them.
What is her most fun ability in your opinion and why?
It's kind of funny. I'd say her 3rd ability is the most fun to me, but also at the same time the most infuriating. Why? I like... Have you seen the movie Monsters vs. Aliens, I think is the name, an animated movie? Okay, there's this moth thing that is like super large and super strong, but when it sees a light or the moon or something, it just kind of like loses all control. It just walks toward it like a blind zombie, mindless thing. Titania having an ability that has that effect on enemies is hilarious to me. I love that so much. And it's really, really fun to just watch the enemies just kind of like walk towards the light, so to speak. I don't know why, it just tickles me.
My favorite ability has to be her third ability, Lantern. If only the ability wasn't as lackluster as it is.
And her most boring one?
I think her fourth ability is the most boring to me. Unpopular opinion, possibly. To me, it's boring because you press one button, you go into fly mode, and you just shoot, essentially. You don't really do anything else. Sure, you can cast her abilities and all that. That's all fine, but it's just kind of... you're just flying and shooting, essentially. You know, there's... I don't know, I don't know what I would expect more, but that's just... To me, that's just kind of like, boring, I guess.
Most boring ability has to be Titania's fourth ability, Razor Wing. Why is it boring? It flies like an arch wing. And we all know chewing sand is more pleasant than flying an arch wing.
What's the biggest bug you ever encountered while playing Titania?
That's a good question. Since I don't have much time played with Titania, I don't think I've had the chance to see many bugs. I think one of the dumbest ones that I've ever seen is that I was bullet jumping through, well, not through, but very close to a wall, and in the air I pressed 4, and suddenly I was in the wall. So that happened.
What's the biggest bug I've ever encountered with Titania? The answer is simple. Her.
I haven't experienced a single bug whilst playing Titania. That's probably because I'm not Titania main, but otherwise, in my times of playing Titania, I've never experienced any bugs with her.
In what tier would you put Titania and why?
I think it's fair to say she's an A grade Warframe, at least, maybe. She deals stupid damage. She can really deal a lot of damage, despite, you know, just disregarding fun and playability and how reliable the abilities may or may not be, yada yada, that's all fine. But overall, she's a really good frame if you think about it. She can be in the air and be harder to hit, harder to kill while in the air. She does a lot of damage while she's in the air. She has crowd control. She has buffs. So she's a pretty good overall package, I'd say. So in the right hands, I think she can be extremely devastating and dangerous. So I don't see how she can be worse than A, you know?
I placed Titania in A or B tier. There are several things she's good at, like being in one-trick pony with her fourth ability in Plague Star.
I think Titania could be an A rank simply due to the fact that her fourth ability is one of a kind and is extremely powerful and gives Titania extra survivability with her tiny hitbox. If her first 3 abilities were changed, perhaps so that enemies don't ragdoll away when you shoot at them, or even increasing the damage for her first 3 abilities, then she would definitely be an S rank tier.
If, why don't you enjoy her in general?
Okay, that's a good question. I like this question. I have the same problem with her that I have with Excalibur, only not as severe. Like, for example, her Lantern ability. Now, when you read the description, you're supposed to make one enemy a lantern, and that enemy is supposed to distract all the enemies nearby, and they walk towards that enemy and yada yada. And it makes me fucking angry that it's unreliable, because I've encountered it very, very often that when I'm surrounded by enemies and I cast Lantern on one of them, that a lot of them do get distracted and do ignore me and just go for the lantern, but a couple for some reason seem to ignore the lantern and still shoot me, which is mostly why I die, and I can't stand that. I need a reliable ability that will stop incoming damage when I need it to, you know? And that's what makes me so mad about her, is that her abilities are sometimes unreliable. Also, her buff ability is kind of strange, I'd say. It's a little bit annoying that you can cast an ability on an enemy and then snatch their soul or whatever and get a buff. That's fine, but it's kind of annoying that you have to go collect it. I would much rather prefer if you could, like, something maybe like Mag's Pull, where you will pull the enemy towards you. Not all the way towards you, but a little bit. Knock them down a little and kind of like grab the buff out of them and just instantly gain the buff. That would be, I feel, much more dynamic and cool.
How do you like her default design? Any problems with it and why?
Right, and in terms of looks, I kind of like the way she looks, especially when you use darker colors. I feel just her whole posture and her overall design and features, the way she looks, to me she looks very, very intimidating, kind of. She looks like the kind of Warframe you don't want to mess with. But she also reminds me a little bit of Jar Jar Binks with those weird bunny ears. So I'm like, I like you, but that Jar Jar thing is really turning me off. And her alt helmets are kind of meh. So is her Tenogen, so I'd like to see a deluxe skin for her. That would be nice.
Titania's default design is mediocre at best. I kind of like her helmet, because it looks like she got flappy ears and it looks cute.
I think her default design is quite nice. I personally don't have any issues with it. However, I am definitely looking forward to when her deluxe skin comes out.
Since there's a rework plan for Titania, what do you expect to see and what do you want to see?
Oof, that's a huge question. I don't know. I see the problems, kind of. I think that she's fine the way she is. I just feel that if they could get rid of some of the bugs, some of the things that cause unreliability with her abilities, I think she'd be fine. Maybe faster ability casts, I think, would be really, really good. I would probably rework the first ability entirely and make it more like maybe something like Inaros' pocket sand ability, where he throws the sand into enemies' eyes and they're blinded. Maybe send like a swarm of butterflies at the enemies that will, I don't know, cause them to deal less damage or be panic or something, maybe, or something like that, because it's a little, it kind of bothers me a little bit that her first ability makes enemies float and her third ability also makes them float. Just objectively, it's like there's not much difference between the two abilities. So I think that if they would rework the first one to something kind of completely different, you would have a better aspect to it or something like that. Or maybe cast the first ability on an enemy. That enemy has butterfly swarms around him and they just become crowd controlled basically. And if you're close enough, the butterflies will kind of like drain health from the enemy and give it back to you. Kind of like Trinity's Well of Life thing. Something like that. I think that would go very well with her kit, but other than that, I'm pretty fine with the way she is if they would just fix the things that don't seem to work properly, you know?
I'm expecting her abilities to actually synergize. I'd want her to actually feel like a pixie, not a flying sack of shit.
In the end, you can think about her as wonderful, bad, or whatever. Only you can decide if you'll really like her or not. Thanks for watching. I will hopefully continue this series with a lot more frames. Also, I'm streaming on Twitch, so if you wanna check my streams out, check the link in the description.